Yes, hi. If you recognize the setting, I've just decided to do these reviews like close with each other because I don't really have time to film otherwise in the week. Hi, this is Ingrid and welcome to my WinterBookLand. Today we're actually going to do another series review where we discuss a series and discuss if it's worth reading or not. And the series we're going to go through today is the Half-Life series by Sally Green. This series is kind of old, I feel like, but you have to understand, I was kind of interested in this, but then didn't want to read it because I wasn't so interested. But then there was a sale on this bookstore and I was like, yeah, I can buy them. And they've quickly become one of my favorite series of all time. The way I'm going to do this review is the same as the other review I have up of the Raven Cycle. I will do a short synopsis of the first book and then I will go on to explore the characters, the plot and the language of the entire series in a non-spoiler fashion. And then I will have a spoilery discussion at the end. And I will put timestamps up here so you can go to the part you're most interested in. And I think we'll just get started. Just a reminder that I have a review of the first book up already, where I kind of just explain things and stuff like that, but I'll just do a synopsis again, really. In the first book, Half Bad, we meet the character Nathan. And he is half white and half black witch. And the thing is, in this society, white witches are kind of seen as like the higher power and black witches are seen as not trustworthy, just, you know, not really good people at all. Throughout this book you see his struggle to be recognized as a human being, you see him struggle to become a human being, you see him struggle with social expectations that are set to him because of his, you know, mixed heritage. It's kind of a hard plot to swallow if you are looking for things that maybe a little struggle to get through, because this series takes you on a trip amongst the harmful things and stuff like that. I would definitely say give this entire series a try, because I feel like the way they deal with the topic they're about, they need to be recognized as a very well done depiction of war, which I think that is the selling point of this book, the way it depicts war. And if you want an exploration of war and how it destroys things, you know, the rhetoric of George R. R. Martin, I would very much recommend you to pick up this series. Fair warning, if you want a happy ending, this isn't the place to get it. Just so you know. Alright, then let's get on to the characters. The thing is, these books are very short, so you don't get to explore side characters a lot. So most side characters, they have very strong personalities, you see kind of what personality they have, but you have to be aware that they don't get explored much. Of course, the person that gets most exploration is Nathan himself. He's a very interesting character. I love his starting point as a character and the way he progresses. I feel like Sally Green did a very natural job with Nathan. You see how the things that happen in these books affect him and kind of destroy him in a way. As a character study, this series is amazing to read, really. And of course we have the side characters. One of the downgrades of this book is the character Annalise. Annalise, I feel like, is just a prop. She's a very bland character, or maybe that's just because I don't really like her character at all. I don't like her as a person. I feel like she could have had a stronger personality in the first two books. In the third book, I think Sally Green manages to right a few wrongs she did with Annalise, but in the first and second book, Annalise is as blank as a white wallpaper, basically. You get the feeling that she kind of doesn't care about what's going on and that she kind of is a little bit ignorant about the issues that's going on and stuff like that. But of course we shouldn't fault the character for that. Just be aware of the character of Annalise. And then we have, of course, the other side character, Gabriel, I feel like in terms of relationships between characters, this series went a bit fast in that term. There's a lot that's glossed over, you don't see the development, you just get told things that they do together, and then the author just assumes you know that like the relationships develop. One thing with Gabriel I really like is that he's a headstrong character, and even when Nathan kind of like walks over him, Gabriel doesn't take it, he just stands strong and stands on his opinions and says, hey, you're being an ass right now and here's how you're going to do it right. And I feel like that's such a great thing, because normally when someone criticizes the main character, they just like get shot down and mocked and stuff like that, but Gabriel actually gets respect for stating his opinion and stuff like that, and I feel like that's a really great thing in terms of character. One thing is that a lot of characters get forgiven for a lot of like really questionable things, like a lot of questionable things get glossed over, but I feel like that's just a part of the book and a part of the way it's written and, you know, the theme of it. On to the plot. The first book was wonderful in terms of the plot. You felt a little lost at times, and that's kind of the point, because Nathan is really lost at a time as well. You just get the feel that this is a confused kid in a world that just wants to use him, and he's trying to just be himself and find a way out of this, and you really get to explore that through Sally Green's plots. Now, the second book. It's a little bit shit. That seems to be the general opinion of this series. The second book is a little bit shit. Basically, it's that kind of plot where, you know, they're searching for someone, and the entire book is just about them searching for someone. And I think the entire series is played a bit by the whole go to this character and then get a mission, and then go to that mission and find another character and get a mission from them. It's a very like choppy in that kind of way, but I feel but I could overlook it because I found the plot so interesting. But if you don't like that kind of thing, maybe stay a little bit away from this series. But the plot does have a very natural progression, I will say that. Like, it makes sense for where they're going, it's just that narrative-wise it's just a little bit choppy. And then we can move on to the language. The language is very easy to understand. The language is very simple, but I feel like that's something that isn't a downgrade for this series. I feel like there's such a big hype, you know, around the language being unique and having to stick out, but I feel like this book doesn't need that, I feel like, and you can enjoy it just as much as if it was written in a more unique way. And I feel like Sally Green utilized the way she could use language very well in terms of these panic episodes that Nathan has. It kind of disappears in the third book, but in the two first books they're really present, and I feel like that's a really strong point of the series. You kind of see Nathan mature with the language he uses, and I feel like that's a really great point of the book. And there, yeah, you have it, my discussions of the points in the books. I would definitely recommend reading the first book and then kind of like, if you don't enjoy the second book, try to get through it, because the third book is really brilliant in its own way. But yeah, I would definitely recommend the series. Then we go over to the spoilery discussion part. If you haven't read this book, go read it and then you can come back and we can discuss this series. I will give you 5 seconds to leave. The thing is, this is probably more or less than 5 seconds, but I can't really be bothered to care. Okay, I love Nathan's progression in this series. You know, he starts out with like, I don't want to kill, I hate killing, don't kill more than necessary, I don't want to kill. And then by the third book, that resolve is just torn down. He kills at the earliest opportunity, and I feel like that's a great way to just explore a character being broken from his personality because these people want to exploit a child in war. And I think that's a great point that Sally kind of puts pressure on without it being obvious, that these are children. in a war where they have to kill people and maybe get killed themselves, and they lose their loved ones, and the way it just affects them. I think it's really similar to the Hunger Games in that way. It doesn't glorify the war. It's terrible and it's horrible, and you get to see Nathan explore that and stuff like that. In the start of the third book, he's lost himself basically. And I feel like that's a theme as well, like war destroys everything. You see, Nathan's pure happiness is just gone after the happenings of the entire series, because so much shit has happened to him and he's just been treated so terribly. He doesn't know how to live without his hatred and anger that's shoved at him. Of course, we can't talk about the series without talking about the controversy around the ending. A lot of people complained about Gabriel dying and stuff like that, and how, you know, it is the gay relationship between Nathan and Gabriel, and people felt like they needed a more happy ending and stuff like that. But I feel like with the way the book was progressing, a happy ending for these two characters just wasn't possible, because this isn't a story about a person who fights in a war and that then gets everything afterwards. This is a story about a child being broken and his entire future being destroyed because grown-up people couldn't act properly. And then to have him magically save his loved one and then the two of them living happily forever afterwards, I feel like wasn't really natural. Of course, I would have preferred it if Gabriel lived. I bawled at those last 20 pages, but I feel like this book is a warning, really. Most in fiction you just see glorification of war. You see these young characters and they get praised for being ruthless and winning and killing, and I feel like Sally Green's just refusal of that and refusal of just brushing over death and violence. She handles that so well and just makes it a really strong point that this isn't okay. And I actually have a really fun story about the last 20 pages, because I was at work while reading this, and it's that kind of job where there's not a... I sit and kind of like watch over this gallery, and if someone comes in and wants to buy something, I like help them with that. But like there's very little people that visits, so I just sit and read while I wait. And I got to the last 20 pages and I was crying. I had tears pouring down my face, and like 2 minutes after I was finished reading the book I was like wiping tears. Then there's like 5 to 7 people just comes into the gallery and start looking around, and I had to like hi in a very happy tone while I was just like red in the face and watery eyes, and it was just horrible. One important part I feel is that Sally Green doesn't explain this theme of war destroying this kid. She doesn't tell it in a story to us, oh, how this war destroyed this kid. It just hands it to us. This is what happens, and you should be smart enough yourself to figure out that this isn't a happy ending and it never should have been, and this is a horrible thing and child soldiers shouldn't exist. Yeah, that was my review and discussion of the Half-Life series. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you want to discuss these books with me or state your own opinion on them, leave a comment below and we can discuss. I would really love that. If you enjoyed me as a person and would maybe like to see more from this channel, you can subscribe and check out my other videos. And I will see you in my next video, and I hope you have a lovely day and that you are happy throughout this entire week. Bye! And we need the thumbnail. I actually remembered it this time.